Today I'm be showing you more than 10 top tips for your first playthrough and to make getting used to the game and having a much easier first half of the game. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get about a handful of characters about 15 minutes into the game. So they're all going to get a level up. What you want to do is not actually progress the first level. The first level up on all characters is going to be the Cavalier Beast Rider. I'm going to get into why this is so in just a moment. So every character is going to take the Cavalier Beast Rider, and I'm going to show you how to build them. Now this is actually a combined tip for tip 1 and 2. And let's get into the combined part. So every character is going to take Perception. And now this is for all your beginning levels. You can change all your characters over, and I'm going to show you how to do that very early in the game after beating the prologue. It says that you can only do it so many times for free, but you can do it infinite amount of times for free. So don't worry about these stats like being set for the game. They're not. The reason we want every character to have Perception is so that we find items. There are a lot of magical items. The items you find through Perception are like the items you get for killing a boss. They're the better items. But none of our characters have high Perception. Like, it's nice to give one character very high Perception, but in the beginning of the game, unless you have all characters having Perception, you're not likely to find those doors. You're not likely to find those items. So we're going to give every character Perception, and so we get more XP. Every character is going to take either Knowledge of World, Knowledge of Arcania, Trickery, or Athletics. Each character will get one of those five, and Persuasion. So those are the 5 that each character is going to get one of those 5, and then every character is going to get Persuasion. Now there's one thing you want to look at. On the right of the screen it says Wisdom +1. Now that's for Perception. Every character is still going to get Perception. But if I had a negative value for Persuasion, then that's not the character that I want to give Persuasion. I want to give him something that he has a higher value of. So he can do Athletics. He has Strength +4. So she's actually a good one to do Athletics. So is Lan. But definitely give every character one of those 4. So because he doesn't actually have that one right there, I'm actually going to give him the Knowledge's World, and then I'll just add another one into the one category for the first level. But as you level up, just make sure that you're putting into those categories, and everybody has their own. So going on through the first tip and showing you how to do this level, we're going to take Order of the Shroud for all of them. So I feel like you have 2 choices for this perk. Now this is another reason. Because you do this, every character gets a team perk. So you can give every character Precise Strike if you want more damage. Or you could do Shield Wall, and if you plan to play more characters that have a shield. So if you're going to be doing more defense, you want to play a little bit more defense, then do Shield Wall. If you want to be a little bit more offensive, do Precise Strike. But definitely make sure that all your characters are picking the same one. That way you really get the benefit out of that perk. Now you have a couple choices. You can pick your favorite animal. That is your choice. I would personally take the boar, or my favorite, the mastodon. Because it's so large, it blocks a lot of doorways, and it limits the amount of damage you take a lot of times. So this makes getting used to the game a lot easier. Having a handful of mastodons on the board is really nice. We're going to take Bulwark because we want the most defense. All your animals are going to get Athletics and Perception. And then first one you want to take on your first level, because these are going to level up with your character. Because you took this on their first level, these are going to continually level up. So when you have a level 5 character, you also have 5 different level 5 mammoths on the board. So that is actually really nice. And then when you get to level 7, or if you want to put one perk into riding them for one of your characters, or all your characters at the start, I wouldn't do that, but that's up to you. But you can actually ride them at level 7 too. So this is just like really for your first 5, or even if you wanted to go to your first 10 levels before you really decide how you want to do your build. This is just one early level. It does not matter. So the perks you're going to be taking for your mammoths or whatever you picked. First, die hard so they don't die right away. And even if they do die, you don't have to revive them because they come back at the campfire. They're a free death. Another great thing about having a lot of them early. Next, you're going to be taking dodge, all defensive perks. Endurance isn't terrible. Toughness, things like that. All defense because they can't attack. So you're just making a handful of tanks to pull aggro for you. That's basically what you're doing. Is you got they hit okay too. They hit pretty decent. So first one, definitely take Die Hard. There's actually one more very good reason why we're taking the 1 level for all our characters on the Cavalier Beast Rider. So any character that can't initially wear armor, or any character that can't initially use a weapon, all those classes will now be able to equip armor and equip weapons because you have 1 level of a character class that can. This will give you more defense, especially on your weaker characters, and more offense on your more tankier classes that you pick. I know I spent a lot of time on the last tips because trying to go over all the reasons why this is so beast, but one last thing. You know the dangerous enemy that's in the prologue that's actually a bitch to kill? Unless you're using slow turn by turn combat, and even still it's a bitch to kill without any character dying. So that I just completely ran through in real time because I had 12 characters coming at it at once. It doesn't have really good AoE attacks. There's very few enemies in the first chapter that have good AoE attacks. So for the most part, you're not going to be taking multiple deaths from your companions. And they do become very tanky. Late game, they're the best tanks in the game. Unless you went with an all-out, no defensive tank build. Your companions can be absolute tanks. So just another example of how beast this is. And we're going to get into a combined tip. We got our next 2 tips, which actually work with that as well. Because we got so much aggro and everything, we can really abuse quick save. Quick save after every battle if you want. Quick save after every couple of battles. And if you're doing a second playthrough, you can use this strategy as well. And then just use real time and just run through every battle pretty much in the first chapter. Just quick save after you take a little bit of damage. Next tip, you can also abuse the rest. Rest gives you your abilities. Definitely should be buffing during the hardest fights. But with this strategy, you're not going to have many of them in the first chapter. But there is a couple that you might want to use the real time or buff real quick. Use the turn at the start, buff real quick, and go into real time. Another thing about abusing the quick save is when you do find that battle that's actually hard, you can just reload your quick save, and then right outside the battle point, then you'll buff all your characters, you'll quick save, and then you can fight that battle. And then if you lose, you can quick load to a point where your characters are all fully buffed. Now, because you're using the strategy with having 12 characters at the start of the game, you don't really need to abuse this so much, but it's really nice to actually use doorways. So you can send like 1 archer in, and then you can have him shoot the first enemy and then run back. And then you can use this doorway, or any doorway, to create a kill box. And you'll have your mastodons in the front, your tank in the front, and then you can have your wizard or sorcerer I think is better, and your archer and everybody else just shooting them from the corners, not taking any damage. And you can have your paladin or whatever right behind that. So that is a really good strategy for a lot of the harder fights. Our next couple tips come after you beat the prologue. So Horgus, the first time you meet him, definitely ask for double, he'll give it to you. The second time when you meet him here, you're going to decline his offer originally, and then he'll offer you double, and then you accept it for 2,000 versus 1,000. But don't talk to him right when you finish. The first thing you want to do is talk to Hawks and sell all your extra gear. You're going to easily be able to afford 2 to 3 fighters, depending if you collected everything or not, or how lucky you got with your pickups, but easily be able to afford 2 fighters. So you want to buy 2 to 3 fighters ideally, and that way you can actually have 3 fighters at 2,000 each that you can level up, and later in the game when you want to respec them, you can do it from level 1. So right here you can retrain any of your characters. Like I said, we got all these extra mastodons, well not right now, but they are in the party. And later in the game, like level 5 or level 10, when we actually might want to start doing a build, I'd probably recommend keeping the companions to at least level 7 to 10, and that will make your beginning of the game so much easier. But if you are going for like a level 20 build, then eventually you're going to need to respect your characters, and you can do this an infinite amount of times with him for free. In the next town, when you get to the next map, you can go find him again at the inn. So you can go do that, but buying the characters goes up in price. Immediately after you talk to Horgus, it goes up to 4,000. The more story objectives you complete, the more it costs. So then it's going to cost like mid-game 50,000, late game 100,000 for a character. So what you want to do is buy them for 2,000 right at the start of the game, and then you have them for the entire game, and you spent no money on them, and you can make them whatever you want, whenever you want. The last tip I have for you today, and all these tips combined, are going to make your first playthrough a lot easier, and it's going to make it so much easier to learn the game. So we're going to be talking about formation. So using the strategy of having several companions, I'm able to put 3 companions at the front to take initial hits. A lot of battles you get ambushed and you get flanked, so I have 3 in the back, 3 in the front. I have my tank up in front, I have my assassin up in front, then I have my paladin, which is like a mid-level warrior right behind that. Then I have my healer in the middle, and then I have my archer and my sorcerer in the back. And that's a very good strategy. Using these dudes, the tank mounts, using them in the front and the back, then putting your most offense up in the top, because most battles you will not get ambushed, only some. Then definitely have the healer in the middle, and keep your ranged dudes in the back. And then you can have your kind of support offense right behind the main offense. Definitely a good idea to set up a formation like this one. Also, as you're quick saving, if you get into a battle that you struggle with, or before you know you're about to have a battle, set up your formation so you're already in formation when you start the battle. Then take control of your scout archer and go initiate the battle and run back. Or if you're pretty confident, you could just move in as a group in formation. And those are all the top tips I have for you today for your first playthrough. Doing it like this is going to make it very easy for you to learn when to strike, all the abilities, because you don't got to worry so much about being attacked. I mean, the main top tip I saw nobody really talk about is having 6 companions. Having 6 companions for at least chapter 1 really allows you to not worry about healing that much and people dying as much, and you can actually learn what you should do and how you should move. Just don't abuse it. Don't go into real time and just run through every battle, because you can with this many companions. But if you do that, you're not going to learn the game, and the game gets significantly harder, and eventually you will need to use turn by turn for part of the battles, or the whole battle for the hardest fights mid to late game. So just be advised about that. I hope this helps.